Avatar The Last Airbender is one of the best shows ever made. Avatar The Last Airbender, the movie, is one of the worst movies ever made, and it's significantly worse than you remember it being. When this movie came out, everyone couldn't wait to drop their trousers and take a fat shit on it, just plant the steaming load, because the movie's terrible, so it deserves all the insults and all of the scathing reviews it received. But yesterday, Andrew and I decided to take a bath in the M. Night Shyamalan septic tank and watch this film. It's the first time he'd seen it and second time for me. I first saw it in 2016 because I'm a bad movie enthusiast and I wanted to taste the forbidden fruit of the Avatar movie. I'd always heard how horrible it was, and I didn't see it when it first came out in 2010, so I went back to just experience it, and it was miserable. But after watching it yesterday again, I swear to God, M. Night Shyamalan himself has gone back into the movie to change things around to make them even worse. The movie is progressively getting stinkier. I felt like I entered an alternate dimension where the Avatar The Last Airbender movie was somehow even worse than it was in 2010. I didn't remember half of these scenes being as atrocious as they were, and it hasn't been that long since I saw it. It was shocking, and I don't say this lightly, but I do believe this is one of the worst films ever made. Yes, it is worse than The Room when it comes to its dialogue. The dialogue in this film actually does sound like it was written by Tommy Wiseau if he had just hit 50 whippets in his car. It is baffling that this somehow ended up in a big budget film. And I think it's worse than any student film, any indie film. It's worse than fucking YouTube Halo 3 machinimas. It is unbelievably terrible in every possible department. It's extremely obvious nobody on the production side ever watched the Avatar show because they get the pronunciation of every single name wrong. They don't even call him the Avatar, they call him the Avatar. And everyone already knows this, but his name's not Aang in the movie, it's Ong. Sokka is Sokka. Everything is wrong. It's like they just read a Wikipedia article about the Avatar show and then tried to make a movie off it based on 3 sentences, like a plot synopsis. I can't even wrap my head around how it ended up like this. It tries to cover a lot from the Avatar show. It goes all the way up to the moon spirit, starting from literal bottom, starting from the very beginning. In an hour and 40 minutes, it goes from freeing Aang from the water tribe area all the way up to the moon spirit. And nothing makes sense.
Never have a normal life. That I could never have a family.
They said it cannot work with the responsibilities of the Avatar. Why can't the Avatar have a family?
I asked that.
I wanted to show quite a few scenes from this movie while I talked about it to make my points, but I just don't want to take the chance of any copyright violations or anything like that, because God already knows M. Night Shyamalan will get the fucking copyright benders out here and fuck me up. So I'm only going to show bits and pieces here, but here's just an example of a conversation in this movie. It's like 2 Skyrim NPCs malfunctioning anytime characters talk to each other. They don't have conversations. They just vomit out plot synopsis. Just random sentences from the Wikipedia article about like chapter 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender show. They don't actually talk to each other. And it's also filmed super weird, as you'll see here, where it's like a zoom in on their face, like as if it's under a microscope. Like I can see every pore on Ong's face here. Why is it such like a hyper close-up? As if I'm trying to like look at his DNA, like get down to an atomic level on him. It's shot so poorly. And they turn Katara into a goddamn trivia bot. All she does is say like general things about the world at random and ask the dumbest questions of all time. Like, this is a really small excerpt here as an example. When she's on screen, all she's gonna do is monotone ask a question to whoever's near her. It's like she's lobotomized, and all she can do is just ask silly questions. It's like she's Clippy from Microsoft XP who just keeps popping up with a question that you just don't even understand why it's being asked. I don't know why she's even in the movie, because she doesn't do anything. And I don't mean that as an exaggeration. She doesn't do anything besides ask questions sometimes or appear emotionless and say something general about what's going on. For example, there's a scene where Ong runs away, and her and Sokka hear him running away, so they both get up out of bed and they say, "Ong's running away." And Katara says, "He's running away, but he'll probably be back." And that's it. That's like the only thing she contributes to the film in every scene, is just saying things that everyone can already see, or asking questions that are either already being answered or have no place in the film in the first place. She doesn't even waterbend. There's only 3 scenes, I believe, where she's waterbending, 2 of them she fails. Well, 4 actually. The 4th scene, they forgot to use special effects, so she's like bending water, but they didn't put any special effects, so it's just like a calm river underneath her while Ong's looking impressed. So I imagine what was supposed to happen is she was supposed to be like lifting water up, but they just forgot to add that. So 4 scenes where she's supposed to be water bending. One of them, they didn't even add the effects, and then the other scene is she just gets hit by fire. So in the first 2 scenes, the water bending fails. The last scene at the very end of the movie, where she's facing off against Zuko, she makes 2 water barriers, blocks 1 fireball, gets hit and knocked out. That's it. That's like the last time we see her. She doesn't do anything. I don't even know why she's here. She's just a fucking punching bag. And Sokka, I can't even imagine what M. Night Shyamalan told the actor to do, because when he's on screen, he just looks like he's always on the verge of tears. Like, he's always so serious, and he only has one look in this entire movie. He's like Derek fucking Zoolander. All he does is when he's on screen, he does this. Forever. He doesn't fight. He doesn't contribute anything. He doesn't even really talk. He doesn't make jokes like Sokka does in the show. He is nothing. He is a fucking android that is malfunctioning. Like, you would expect for a big budget movie like this, they would hire actors that actually wanted to be there, but I felt like all of them were just counting down till they could go home. None of them even tried, except for Zuko. Zuko is actually played by a really talented actor named Dave Patel. He's the only one that even gives a fuck in this film, but even he is dog shit here. But he's the only one that I could see was even trying to act. The other ones just sound like they're voice acting on Disney Junior.
How'd you get all the way out here?
I ran away from home. We got in a storm. We were forced under the water of the ocean.
Oh, I see.
Wow.
It wasn't very smart. I was just upset.
They're just literally explaining a plot summary of the show.
Yeah. With about the same delivery as me reading it in my head. The way the characters deliver their lines sounds about as enthusiastic as I do when I wait in line at the DMV and then have to fill out some shit. Like, they just seem so unbelievably bored to be there. And the movie, the most criminal thing about the movie is just how boring it is. Because like I said, they try and covered a lot from the Avatar show in a short amount of time. Thus, the majority of the movie comes out exactly like what you just saw, where they're just vomiting plot summary at each other with nothing else happening. Now, this film had a $150 million budget, so you would expect with that much money behind it, at least the fighting and the effects would look good. No. It's made in Adobe After Effects, it feels like, or Sony Vegas. Like, it's fucking trash. Look at this.
Oh my lord! Here it is!
Yeah.
Yeah!
Whoa! Watch out!
You kid!
This is an actual scene in the final cut of the film. Fucking 10 earthbenders doing an interpretive dance in order to summon a small pebble and slowly push it towards their opponent. This is actually the scene out of Austin Powers when he's in the fucking steamroller and slowly about to run over that guy. And he just keeps screaming. That's the action in this entire movie. It's just people standing there waiting to slowly be hit by something, whether it's a small pebble from the earthbenders or a slight gust of wind from Ong. He doesn't use any cool airbending. Like, when Ong is fighting, he is summoning, like, actual puffs of wind. Like, as much wind as I generate just blowing out. That's what you see on screen for the fights. It's so fucking bad. Also, firebenders can't generate flames on their own in this movie. They need a fire source nearby. So the whole film falls apart at the end, where they could just extinguish the flames around the city and the firebenders would be powerless. Because the waterbenders could just throw water on all the torches that light up their city, and the firebenders wouldn't be able to fight back. Because for some fucking reason, M. Night Shyamalan decided to completely change how the bending works for them. So they needed a nearby fire source. Thus, the whole thing could have been avoided by just... If they just said, oh, here's the Fire Nation coming in. Alright, extinguish those torches. Then they're worthless. The film is so unbelievably silly.
That's the M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Oh, it's just like Lord of the Rings.
It is. It's as memorable and good, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't feel like writing a speech or a line, so he just said, go up there and make a noise. That right there is the only good piece of dialogue where one of the guys just goes up and instead of giving a speech just goes, because they just decided not to write dialogue or anything inspirational. Just this random fucking dude goes up there and just makes a goofy noise. That's about as much effort as that went into the entire film. That's the perfect summary of this film. Just go up there and do whatever. I don't care. I got paid a lot of money to make an Avatar movie, but I don't feel like doing any amount of work to make it good. This movie is beyond bad. This movie is like getting a colonoscopy while wide awake for it. It is painful. M. Night Shyamalan's known for his twists in movies, and the biggest twist about the Avatar movie was that it was the worst fucking thing you'll ever see in your life. So if you like the show, get ready to get slapped in the face. It is so much worse than I remembered it being. And it hasn't been that long since I've seen it. It is so fucking bad. And I've only scratched the surface. I wanted to do a really in-depth dive on it, but I just don't really want to risk like a copyright violation or anything, so I'm going to refrain from doing that. I'm just giving you the general basis on why it's so bad and what makes it so awful. There is not a single moment in this entire film that is even remotely interesting or well done. There is no character besides Zuko that even tries a little bit. And even Zuko, who's by far the best performer in this film, does an awful job. Because I really feel like M. Night Shyamalan told everyone to do terrible. Like, go out there and give it your absolute worst take. Andrew made a good point. He said Shyamalan probably just took the 70th take of each scene so all the actors were exhausted. That's the only explanation for how it ended up so bad, and how every single character in here is so poorly done. It makes no sense that this fucking film is in the state that it's in. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit since I rewatched it yesterday. That's about it. See ya.